Today on Locked On Red Wings, Simon Ed-win-sson.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's a host over at Locked On Tigers and a sports writer for C&G newspapers, while I'm a color commentator for Oakland University, ACHA D1 men's hockey. I always enjoy seeing your reaction after I say a cold open when you're not
What did you even say?
Simon Ed-win-sson instead of Edvinsson, because he scored 2 goals and got us the win.
I heard, you were like, Simon Ed-win, and then it just like cut to the intro. I was like, what just happened?
I hope people heard it. Hope that didn't cut off.
We just explained your bad joke, so even if
it is also the thumbnail. I've already made the thumbnail as we talk, and it says Ed-win-sson.
Awesome.
I thought about that leaving the ice rink after my 4-1 win. So
you
Scotty,
had to throw that out there. That's my 4-1 win, by the way. Yeah.
That I contributed nothing for. I was a solid +1. Didn't get
like
scored.
You contributed.
We have a 3-2 comeback victory over the Minnesota Wild to talk about what I would call a crucial win, with everyone there that is chasing Detroit also winning tonight as well. Sans the Boston Bruins, but they did lose in overtime, so they picked up a point themselves. So a crucial 2 points in a game that, honestly, I didn't think the Red Wings played their A game. And winning those games when you don't play your best it's a good sign. It's a strong sign for a team that's trying to make a push for the playoffs. Scotty, what was your first thought in this hockey game?
My first thought was payback, which is like super overly dramatic and it is super unnecessary on my part. But that's, just the salty competitive brain, I guess, talking. Like I know we talked about it a little bit before we hit record too, and you had brought up, like the Wings absolutely deserved to win the first time they played, and they blew it and obviously didn't. And in this one, the Wild looked like the better team in the first period. They looked like the better team for certainly the first half of the third period, if not most of the third period. They were in control of this game through 20. And so it's just nice to kind of get one back, I think, a little bit there. Not that this is, like some like heated matchup or like a big rivalry or anything, but it's just after how the last game over the weekend ended, it was just really nice to finish the job this time, get back in the win column against a team that, kind of like righting a wrong, I guess.
Yeah, I think righting a wrong is actually a really good way of phrasing of the first thought. Because I'm in a similar mindset as you are here, where the Red Wings against the Minnesota Wild on Saturday, as you just put, they were the better team for 99% of that game and then just collapsed down the stretch. And honestly, it felt like they got 1 point when they should have gotten 2 in regulation. And this was a game where I thought the Red Wings were competitive. They were sloppy in the first, but they were competitive in the first. And then after that, especially in the third period, it felt like Minnesota was the better team.
Yeah.
But they walked away with 2 points in regulation. So it just felt like, karma evening out. It's like, okay, we got that 2 points that we should have gotten on Saturday back now in a game where we didn't have our A game. So that was nice to see. It's a 3-game point streak coming out of the break. I know that the 2 blown leads is obviously what a lot of people are focusing on, but I want to keep it positive here. It's a 3-game point streak coming out of the break, 5 out of a possible 6 points in the first 3 games coming back from break, and your February is looking fantastic. I know obviously they only played 8 games because of the 2-week break, but I think they won 3 of 4 before the break, and now they've won 2 of 3, one of which the one they lost was in overtime. So their month of February is looking fantastic. They're keeping pace with the teams that are behind them. The teams trailing them, like I just previously stated, pretty much all won. So those are really important 2 points in a game where you didn't really have your A game. So that was really encouraging to see. And even more important, Scotty, is they closed this game out. They didn't collapse, right? First is a happenstance, second time is coincidence, third time is a trend. This time they didn't blow it. They didn't score the empty netter, but they just locked it down in the defensive zone. They didn't allow the goal against, although they almost did. Ben Sherratt knocked that puck out of the air. And we'll give Ben Sherratt kudos a little bit later.
OT Benny. Yeah, man. It was. I think that's a good point too. Like the fact that they were able to hold on to this game, and it wasn't just like they had a lead late. The Wild went 6-on-5, and they were able to stay strong and not blow this one. I know it's kind of a low bar, but like
Right.
the fact that every game out of the break so far they have done that. It was nice to hold on to a lead. So yeah, I mean, you look at what expectations were just like coming out of the break and just like what we wanted to see from this team and what we wanted to see from the team as we head into the kind of like trade deadline season as well. I think if you would have told most people that you're going to take 5 of 6 points in the first 3 games back, with the Wild being, at whatever they are, 70, 72 points and third in the Central, like you probably, even though one of the opponents is the Ducks, you probably take that.
Yeah, and that was your third game in 4 days where Minnesota got 2 days off in between the games.
Right.
So you were tired on the road and you stole a win. That's awesome. Difference makers in this hockey game, Scotty. Difference maker in this hockey game. I think we probably both only have one. Very rare where we don't come with 2, but I mean, it's got to be Simon Edvinsson, right? 2 goals in this hockey game, both. I mean, you don't see shots like that in the league that much anymore. Just absolute wind-ups twice. Yeah, you don't see clap bombs like that anymore in the NHL.
Absolute clap bombs. Bringing them back. I absolutely love it. Yeah, man, like they were snipes, dude. Like the one especially top shelf, I think it was bar down a little bit. Just absolute, like you said, man, absolute rockets from the one he literally starts. The picture was going viral online. He literally starts winding up when he's in the neutral zone still, and then gets the puck, like dumped off to him, and he just lets it rip. Absolutely awesome. And not that he's ever gonna, be like a high goal scorer type, but like if he can consistently get a puck on net in that situation when the team is, the reason he was doing it was because the team had a consistent failure through 2 periods, especially to get shots on net. They couldn't get a shot on net, and really neither team could for a little bit there, especially in the middle of the game. So he just said, you know what, we need a shot on net. I'm going to do whatever I can to just make that happen, even if it's a low percentage, clapper from the blue line. And sure enough, the hockey gods were with him, and that led to 2 goals in this one.
Yeah, he now leads all defensemen on the Red Wings in goals with 7. He was tied with Seider before this game. And that first goal was like clearly caught. Was it Gustafsson in net tonight? He caught Gustafsson just completely off guard. He was not expecting that slap shot the moment it got on his stick from that point, because the Red Wings are a team that most of the time kind of likes to work down low and look for lanes, and he just released it. The second one, he just beat him clean. That was the one that went bar down. That was
dude, right over the shoulder there.
And I'm just gonna tease it here, but I want to talk about Elmer Soderblom on that play, the second goal for Simon Edvinsson later, because I thought he did some tremendous work to facilitate that goal. But Elmer Soderblom, I mean, this is a guy that we have sung the praises of pretty much all season. He's kind of had a little bit of ebbs and flows here, but throughout the entire season, he has been a top 4 defenseman. And I would argue, I don't think anyone would argue against me, the second best defenseman on your hockey team behind Moritz Seider. So it's great to see him kind of flourish. You really see the confidence that he's been gaining in the offensive zone, too. He's definitely not afraid of taking chances. Sometimes I wish he was a little bit more risk-averse. I think sometimes he takes a risk unnecessarily, but that confidence is pervasive throughout his entire game. And as he gets more experience, he's going to learn when and when not to take those risks. But in this game, what his shots tonight weren't risks. Like, I'm not saying those shots were risks. He just hit the blue line and ripped it. Yeah, so dude, they were fantastic.
Absolutely.
He's going to be extension eligible come this offseason. So with the cap rising, we talked about it in the past, with the cap rising as much as it is over the next 2 years, I say lock him up long-term ASAP. So he's taking up less of a percentage of your cap the next time it jumps. Don't wait till the ELC's up like you do with Seider and Raymond. Just get it done. Yeah.
That's a conversation for, a much longer conversation over the offseason, I'm sure. But yeah, he was clearly the difference maker in this game. I don't even know if there's anything else that you can even like, because I was going to say like, oh, the second period. It's like, okay, well, those were Edvinsson's goals. So like, cool. Good for you. I guess he only had one in the second and then Tarasenko had the other one. But like, you know what I mean? It's I don't know. Like it's all him.
And he's him. We're going to do a quick
He
break.
is.
When we return, we will continue talking about this hockey game, break down some notable performers from it, and then we'll talk about Copp's season-ending surgery and Ville Husso dealt to the Ducks. So stay tuned to more on segment 2 of A Lockdown Red Wings. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find yesterday's candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates fast. I've been put in that spot when you need to hire like yesterday. I had that at LCA. We were revving up for the season coming out of COVID. We had a short window to hire everybody, and we got it done thanks to Indeed. The pressure's on, and every day without that right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up the hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockdown right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need.
Indeed
Segment
it is.
2. Indeed it is. Sorry, Scotty. I cut you off there. My bad. Segment 2, Lockdown Red Wings podcast. And as far as notable performers go, Scotty, I kind of just want to lead off with Elmer Soderblom because I know I teased it in segment 1. Elmer Soderblom just kind of continues to impress. That third line is new with Joe Veleno centering it in this game because Rasmussen and Copp obviously are out. He was the facilitator on that goal. He picks up that puck in the neutral zone and he skates his way across with possession into the blue line using his length and his length of stride and length of stick to stick handle his way through defenders. And then when he realizes, and this is what I appreciated, is he realized he didn't have anywhere to go. He couldn't get through past the last defender, and a shot would have put it right in the shin pads. He peels back, and he finds Albert Johansson, and then Albert Johansson finds, who else but Simon Edvinsson, breaking in late from the blue line, winding up. So it was a great play by Elmer Soderblom to carry the puck with possession into the offensive zone. Because I know a lot of Red Wings fans hate the dump and chase, and it has its place, but obviously if you can carry the puck into the zone with possession, it's always going to be better. And Elmer Soderblom it's another bullet point on the, albeit still short, list and track record he's had this season of success in the NHL.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I thought he was really solid in this game all around. He had a couple of really nice defensive plays too. Him and Edvinsson, to be quite frank, both had some really good defensive plays in this game. And when they are on the ice at the same time or one shift after another, it's so they take up so much space with just like,
oh my God, I know,
wingspan, right? Like stick span, like it's they can reach anything. And there was one play specifically where Edvinsson is way behind where the puck is being passed to and just completely goes out, stretches out basically on like the equivalent of his tippy toe, reaches all the way out and gets a not a steal, but like intercepts the pass. And it's just having that length on the ice is very, very nice. And in this game certainly was a factor, needless to say.
Absolutely. Scotty, who else do you got notable performers?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the blue line here, man. I really thought Ben Sherratt was fantastic, which is not something we have reiterated too often and not something we have said too terribly much this year. But I mean, we gave him his flowers at the midseason break and how he's been a solid enough, kind of what we expected alongside Sider, but I thought he was great in this game. And that's just aside from even the, stick on the puck there at the end of the third period to potentially, I guess I haven't seen all the angles, but potentially keep the puck out of the net there at the end of the game. He was great all around. Had a couple of really, really big key plays in the second period specifically. Was one of the reasons why the shot totals for both teams were pretty low in that period. He had a really nice offensive play. He had a really nasty kind of like deke shot on net, corralled the puck, almost thought he was going to score there for a second. Like I really thought he was kind of everywhere in this one. I really liked what I saw from him in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's still Ben Sherrod. He still has those giveth and taketh away games. He's had a couple games where, screen the goaltender, the shot goes in type situation. I mean, that's just unlucky more than anything. But I think he's been more giveth than taketh since McClellan's taken over. I think he and Sider overall have looked a lot better as a pair than they ever did under Derek Lalonde. And I think a lot of that has to do with just like play style differences between the two head coaches. I think this style suits Ben Sherrod's game a lot more. And I think he's looked overall much better than he did in the past. Again, he still has games where he's like, oh my God, Ben Sherrod, what are you doing? But overall, he's been much more effective as a partner on the top pair, a position we didn't think he'd be in this season, hoped he wouldn't be in this season. Right. So, because we've seen it not work before and honestly be a disaster before. But this series been, this last 2 months, he's been much more effective in that role. So shout out, he had a really good game. Absolutely. Completely agree. Vladimir Tarasenko, we thought he scored a power play goal, but technically it was even strength. We'd call those pseudo power play goals, like it happened right as the clock expired. From Gustafsson, it was a nice shot from a nice spot. It's nice to see Tarasenko score a goal because we've said it before and we'll say it again. Getting him going is really important for the Red Wings because you need that depth scoring. And he was back on the third line today, off the second line. He was playing on the wing of Veleno and Elmer Soderblom. And seeing him get that goal, it was just a nice moment for somebody who struggled mightily this year to put the puck in the back of the net. Yeah,
big goal too, man. Open the scoring, right?
They needed that.
Yeah, they couldn't get a shot on net. For up until that point, and really didn't even consistently get shots on net until a while after that too. So yeah, him getting getting that goal was huge in that moment. Did he have an apple on one of the Edvinsson ones too?
No, not officially.
Okay. Yeah, so he I don't know, like he that's obviously, as you mentioned, he is somebody that it's frustrating because we've had this conversation before, we can move on, but like he was the big acquisition of the offseason. Like he was the guy that you were like, oh, like this is really exciting. This is a guy we can plug into the top six. And he has been nowhere close to that. So, like the trade deadline's looming. If he turns it around, and I'm not trying to say that like this one goal is going to accomplish that, but if he does turn it around, that's almost like a trade acquisition in its own right. Like getting the Tarasenko we thought we were going to get is almost a parallel to that.
Let me ask you this, Scotty. What'd you think of the centers in this game? Because obviously there's huge shakeup. Comfer, second line center, Veleno, third line, and Tyler Mott, who this is on us. We didn't even consider him yesterday for a center candidate. We were like, it's Fisher and then Dries if they need somebody.
Fisher
but
played,
obviously Tyler Mott has a lot of center experience. So what was your thoughts on the center depth?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was outside of Tyler Mott, I thought it was what we expected, right? Like, Comfer looked at pretty much how Comfer has looked all year. And I think the biggest thing for me is going to be the conversation we had yesterday. So it's kind of regurgitated a little bit, I guess, but like, can Veleno be the 3C consistently while Copp is out? Sounds like for the rest of the season, which we'll talk about after the break here, I'm sure. But like, yeah, man. Like I didn't think that it was noticeably like worse. I wasn't like, oh, like Andrew Copp's not out there. Like we look terrible up the middle. But yeah, you're going to have to find a way to piece it together here is really my biggest, ask. my biggest worry is just their ability to hold it all together with that bottom six center
Right.
outlook.
It's really hard to give you a full evaluation on the first game with the new lines, with all these games having been played, where the team's tired and on the road. But for what it's worth, taking all that into context, I thought they all played fine. I thought JT Compher, was serviceable on the second line. He actually, my big complaint was his face-off percentage this year. He went 6 for 9 in the face-off circle, which was massive. He had a secondary assist on Edvinsson's first goal. He made a great cross-ice pass to Alex DeBrincat, who then dropped it back to Edvinsson, who, like you were saying, was winding up from the neutral zone. So he got an assist in this game, which was nice to see that second line contribute at 5-on-5. Veleno, I didn't think he wowed me, but I thought he was fine. Tyler Mott, he didn't play a whole heck of a lot. He did have a minute and 20 seconds of penalty kill time, which you would expect out of Tyler Mott. I thought they were all playing fine for what this game was. I'm more looking towards Thursday, right, with another day off and coming back home, and then I'll give a little bit harder of a look. But a couple big games, right? A week before the trade deadline, you're playing back-to-back games against a team that's trailing you 2 points back of you in the wild card race. Columbus, they're in the second wild card after tonight. So it's the important next 2 games against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So you're going to really see that center depth tested in really important hockey games for the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, man. Big time.
So we're going to do another quick break. Scotty, when we return, we will talk. Anyone else you want to talk about from this game? I'm almost done. I might have a couple things here or there, and then we'll talk Husso's trade and the Copp situation. Stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings.
Nice, dude. You hit the right button this time. I'm proud of you.
I did hit the right button this time.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. You got anyone else you want to mention about this from this game?
I don't think so. This was just a weird game. It was what is that? 5 total goals, but there weren't very many shots until the third period, and then the Wild obviously started pressing, and then there was kind of a normal amount of shots for a game that you see, but halfway through the second, it looked like neither team would hit 15. It was, I don't know, it was just kind of a weird game. Talbot with a couple of really nice saves, a couple of really brutal goals allowed, though, at the same time. Really just the one, I think, that squeaked through the 5-hole there was the really rough one.
Yeah. Talbot made some really, really big saves in this hockey game, but those 2 that he let in were not great goals.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think Albert Johansson out front didn't necessarily help him that much either. I know the penalty kill, the shorthanded goal. No. Yes, the shorthanded goal that they allowed was not great. Not shorthanded. What am I saying? Power play goal they allowed. I'm sorry.
Right. I was like, there was a shorthanded goal.
It's after hockey for myself. I'm tired. It's almost midnight. Power play goal they allowed.
What is he saying?
Marco Rossi, that was Albert Johansson's guy out front.
Yeah.
He didn't tie him up properly. Obviously, Justin Holl is in that situation because they're playing the diamond. He's playing for the back door. Justin Holl should have crashed faster and gotten there. There is an argument to be said there, but I think that was Johansson's guy. He failed to cover up.
Holl didn't have a great game all around.
No, he played 11 minutes in this game, if that.
And it was still noticeable, which really, I think,
they were sheltered extremely.
We can just talk about special teams as a whole. They went 0 for 1 on the power play and allowed a power play goal.
It's tough with the power play.
I get
they
what
went 0 for 1, but
sure, fair enough. The penalty kill is still awful. How about that?
That is, I will agree with. The second goal, again, Albert Johansson didn't lift the stick, and Lauko was able to just redirect it. That was a leaky goal. That, again, was on Talbot. Talbot had a 917 save percentage across the game. He did enough to get them the win, but he didn't put them in a position off rip to win the game because I didn't like either of those goals he allowed. But I'm not going to tear either of those guys down because both of them have been solid this season. Sure. Just noticeable that it was not the strongest game from those 2. Andrew Copp out 4 to 6 months. The Red Wings pretty much said it in their social media post that he is out for the remainder of the season because there's
didn't pretty much said it. They straight up said it. They said this dude is not playing this year. Yeah, it sucks.
And if we haven't said it enough, that is a massive blow to this team. And I understand a lot of Red Wings fans have been critical of Copp, and so some of it's deserved because you expect for a guy you pay $5.6 million and to be your second line center to have higher production, and that's warranted to be critical of that. But let's not gloss over the incredible defensive aspect of his game that he provides this team, and you are much worse off without him out there in the final minutes or on the penalty kill, or winning faceoffs in defensive zones. He's really good at that, and you're going to be missing that a lot. And I think it really emphasizes a need to acquire some depth center at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with my roommate. The loss of Andrew Copp and the effects that you feel with the loss of Andrew Copp are not straight up the production that he provides. It's when he is gone, your already thin center depth gets thinner. That is the part that kills, right? Like, Andrew Copp has not been producing enough to be a solidified 2C. We just had that conversation a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. But like, you want him in your lineup somewhere. Like you just said, he brings a lot of value. And so you are missing out on those things. But the biggest thing that you are missing out on is the center depth. And we had the whole episode yesterday dedicated to that. But like, now Joe Veleno's playing 3C and Tyler Mott's playing center for your hockey team. Like, that's right. That is the blow. That is why this stings so much. So really sucks. Again, even though the point production wasn't there, certainly found his role and was excelling in that defensive mindset and in the faceoff circle and whatnot, and was manning that productive second line up the middle. So obviously a blow, and we saw how they lined up tonight. I'd imagine it's going to keep looking somewhat similar to that until proven otherwise. So sucks that he's gone for the year though, man. That's absolutely brutal. And that's a time frame where, like, even if you do allow yourself to like get ahead of yourself and you start talking about playoffs, it doesn't matter. Like, he's done.
100%. Scotty, the other big news yesterday was Ville Husso got traded. It happened like an hour after we recorded and had posted the episode, scheduled it to be posted. But he got traded to Anaheim for future considerations. Future considerations isn't quite enough to make us re-record an entire episode, and Ville Husso spent the entire year in the minors. But you send Ville Husso and the entirety of his remaining cap hit to Anaheim, and that's the big win. It gives you more flexibility at the trade deadline to acquire more players. I think the Red Wings, as of right now, because they had a little over $1 million buried, right? Because you only get a little bit of relief when you bury a veteran player in the minors. So they get an additional $3 million in relief by shipping him out. Red Wings now have $14 million to play with at the trade deadline if they so choose. And then with Copp on the IR, the Red Wings could, if they spend up to $14 million. Because here's the thing, the stipulation, right, Scotty, is you can't place Andrew Copp on LTIR currently because you have $14 million in cap space to use at the trade deadline. But if they were to spend up to $14 million, they could then exceed the cap another 5.65, whatever Copp is being paid, by putting him on LTIR. But first you have to kind of hit that maximum. So if you hit that maximum, then you can exceed it by putting him on LTIR. But until then, you can't put him on LTIR, as I understand it. If I'm mistaken, feel free to correct me in the comments, because it was a whole big thing to try and understand how the cap situation regarding the trade deadline is so weird, because you have the accrual and everything. Their actual cap space and what they can use at the deadline are different. They can use $14 million right now and possibly exceed it another 5.65 if for whatever reason they use all of that initial 14.
The Vegas special, baby.
Except our guy's actually hurt. Ayo. That's the biggest, trading Ville Husso, that's the biggest thing you get out of it, is just flexibility at the deadline to make an acquisition.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. Like this is, there's not too much to break down here. Like, this is pretty clearly a salary cap dump, and it's a huge win for the Wings. You got nothing, and it's a huge win because you are getting that money off the books. And like, okay, that's not intended to be like disrespectful to Ville Husso, but ultimately this is a guy that's getting paid over $4 million to play in Grand Rapids. That is not valuable to the Detroit Red Wings organization. So the fact that anyone was willing to take the contract more so than the player is a win for the Wings. So yeah, that's really all there is to it.
Well, and the other secondary effect, too, is this less crease competition for Sebastian Cossa down in Grand Rapids. Now it's him and Jack Campbell. You don't have to worry about splitting tenure with Campbell and Husso. Campbell gets more ice time. Cossa gets more ice time, and that's better for both goaltenders.
Any situation that involves more salary cap and more Sebastian Cossa net, I am going to be in favor of.
Right. Anyways, Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We ball. We'll be talking about the trade deadline tomorrow, as well as previewing the games against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So stay tuned to Thursday's episode of Locked On Red Wings. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.